And like I tell people, your gynecologist and your mechanic, them people they close because them all up in your parts. Literally.
This is the Decor and Lifestyle Center.
So Dr. Harley, Lord
Yes,
Jesus,
Mrs.
this conversation here is a long time in coming.
Long overdue.
Listen, people, long time. First of all, let me introduce my doctor. She's also a gynecologist, a general practitioner, an entrepreneur.
Hard work.
Yeah, she has multiple businesses, right? Let me tell you, I'm so inspired. But what I like about Dr. Harley, she just down to earth.
No, we have to talk about it.
So Dr. Harley, when we say 100, okay? First of all, before you start, Dr. Harley, I want to go on a little story. I remember I came to Dr. Harley one time, and we were talking. And I remember when I came to the office, I was like, Doctor, sometimes I come to the doctor and I have to pick out my best underwear, make sure the brassiere clean, make sure everything. And Dr. Harley said, we don't really care. Like, we don't care. I mean, she mentioned something easy people may not even know how to introduce it. Dr. Harley, start by telling me what you tell me about that. You know what me talk about because you know
a lot of patients will come and say, you know, doc, me never get to change, go home and change or fix up. I say, listen, all if your panty have hole, I'm more breezy I get. I say, don't worry yourself. We no business. We just want to make sure I say you are right. No, actually, it's true. I mean, we really, literally, like, we don't business about your shoe, your toe, you know, whatever. It's just nice. Okay, if you shave or not shave, all right, we no business. My job is to take care of you.
There you go.
It's as simple as that.
Listen, you are the real G when it comes to that. And like I tell people, your gynecologist and your mechanic, them people they close because them all up in your parts. Literally. You understand? So, you want to understand the relationship with me have with my GP and my gynecologist, right? Anyways, I have a few questions, Dr. Harley, that I want to ask you. And I really do hope that I'm representing the females on my channel. I have a lot of persons who follow me who are like between 35 and 55, thereabout, you know, but we'll keep it nice and cute.
No man, it's like fine wine.
No
fine wine them, that's it. Fine wine them.
There you go. Alright, what I want to talk to you about initially, right? Give me an idea why you decided to, apart from being a gynecologist and being a GP, you decided to start your own line of feminine products. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I, as a woman, was having challenges with the products that I was using. It literally was as simple as that. Especially like after the period, I would have irritation and it would be constant, and then I was seeing a lot of patients that were complaining about the same thing. And then it was just like how they would package it was just inconvenient to me. Like we're going to the supermarket and I pick up like 4 different bags sitting, and it's like, you know, it was just inconvenient. There was nothing about my periods that I liked in the first place, and then the products made it worse. So you know, like one day I tell people I was happily sitting on my throne in the bathroom, and I know it was the Lord that dropped it in my spirit to do this thing. Like, why don't you create something that is better, more natural? So I just started to do my research, like just like that. Started to do my research.
Products are cotton-based products, right?
So it's 100% cotton. Right. So that is how I started. I wanted to look for something that was natural, breathable. You had, when you look at the scientific research, it showed that all of these things just made for a better product. A 100% cotton product. Just like how we tell you to wear cotton underwear because it breathes. The same thing when you're using products that are plastic like or foam based or all of these things. Like why? You are aware that on your skin?
Talk about hot.
No. Exactly. And what those do is increase the risk of infections, and a lot of them are processed with so much chemicals. I really wanted to move away from that and provide patients and myself with just a better, more natural option, and then something that was super absorbent. So a lot of times we as black women actually have a heavier period than Caucasian women. So, and that is actually within normal for our population. So I really wanted something that was more absorbing and decreasing the risk of infections.
And congratulations.
Yes.
I'm so happy, you know. You wanted to be a part of the change that should happen. All right. What are some of the very common gynecological issues that women have between the ages of 35 and 55 thereabout? What are some of the common issues?
In our population, we're still seeing a lot of patients that have things like bacterial vaginosis, just changes in their pH balance. They keep having the recurrent discharge, the odor after the period, yeast infections. We're still seeing recurrence of that because a lot of women still have not truly understood their bodies in terms of how to manage their own natural hygiene. So, we really promote just using healthier products. Do the cotton. Watch the kind of products that you use to wash, the vagina in particular. Natural, you can use a natural feminine wash, which is why I created that in the first place as well. Or literally, if it's as simple as just using water or like a very mild soap, you want to go as mild as possible to not create irritation, because irritation throws off the pH and increase the risk of infection. As I said, some of the products that they use, things like that. So we see that very commonly. The heavy bleeding, the fibroids. Oh my gosh, over 35, that's the population that we see it in the most. A lot of patients coming in with the heavy periods, the painful periods. So we do find that, we tend to see larger fibroids at that time. Endometriosis too. So that is where the lining that is shed every month, if it's outside the uterus, it can create a lot of pain, difficulty getting pregnant.
Because that's why I was about to ask you that. If you are diagnosed with fibroid, how does that affect your ability to become pregnant?
You know that a lot of patients will actually find the fibroids when they're doing an ultrasound for pregnancy. So it's found, it's actually found routinely most commonly. So just because you have fibroids don't mean you won't get pregnant. A lot of the women that are pregnant, have normal pregnancies, do have fibroids. But you do have some of the fibroids that can increase the risk of like miscarriage, increase the risk of like preterm birth, so they have baby before they're supposed to. And then some of them can cause infertility because it's creating blockages at certain places. And those are, or they're having like significant pain or bleeding. Those are the patients that potentially would need like a surgical option or something like that.
Forgive me if it seems like I'm going back to some of the things that you highlighted, because I do have a list of questions. And I think this is what you call synergy, because the list that we have, you are touching on a lot of those things. But of course, I want you to elaborate, so I will ask specific questions as it relates to those topics, right? For BV, right, bacterial vaginosis. I know that you have females who are not even aware that they have it. You understand? I mean, I was watching a TikTok the other day and I heard somebody said, when you go into the bathroom and you have to be spraying after you urinate, something is wrong. You understand? Because there is an odor that is given off. Tell me, what are some of the signs that women can look for, even if they have the odor and not sure? How do they know that this is bacterial vaginosis?
Alright, so some of the things that can clue you in is that your natural odor is off. However, you have to know your natural odor.
What I said. I don't
Miss, why we not smelling no panty seat? We need to smell no panty seat at the time. Right? Because you need to know from very early, from our girls are younger, show them what to look for on the underwear. And then they must do a sniff test.
What should they
look for?
know
your natural smell.
What should they look for?
So if you're doing it initially over time, you actually can tell the difference. So it's not supposed to smell excessively fishy. You can smell urine-like smell, but it's not supposed to be overwhelming, right? It's not supposed to be overwhelming. And if you're checking every day, just like how you know how a can saltfish supposed to taste, you will know how you're supposed to smell. If somebody a cook oxtail, you don't know how it smells. Yes. So you're supposed to know how you smell, because your smell is so different from mine. Because we use different products, perfumes, so your natural smell, you'll get a sense of that. So you'll know when something is off. So usually most women will notice that odor changes after the period. It just smells not right, right? Or they will notice like a fishy odor, particularly after sexual intercourse. Some women will notice that, or just like a heavier discharge that is a little irritating after the period, sometimes before the period, and sometimes it can be any time during the cycle.
Okay.
Those are some of the things that will clue you in, but the majority of women actually don't find out until they come and do a pap smear.
And a lot of them not coming to do the pap smear.
Right.
Because I had an experience a couple of years back. A young lady was working with me, and I remember when I went into the bathroom after her, I was like, what is going on in here? You understand? So I am sure that you have a lot of young persons in particular who are not quite sure about what or how your vagina is supposed to smell.
Right, so that is one thing, and I usually clue them in from very early. Ladies, once you've hit 21, once you're sexually active, you should come in and get a pap smear done. Because we can get a general idea as to how your vaginal health is and make recommendations. If you haven't started to do one yet, start, but I also recommend that patients take what we call probiotics. So there is good bacteria in the vagina and you want to boost that good bacteria in the vagina. It actually helps to limit overgrowth of BV and yeast. So acidophilus is one fancy word. We call it vagivitamins. But you know, you should have want them money. Right.
No, that's why you're here. That's the only reason why you're here. Because we don't ever keep it one of them.
So acidophilus, so it's a long word, but once you ask a pharmacy or a natural health food store or look online for acidophilus, yes, you will see it coming up. Really good for vaginal health, really good for gut health.
Alright, and I put a note about that particular point in the description box because we're just trying to share information here. We just have to try as hard as we possibly can, right? You did mention too that with the age group, right? With the fibroids and some persons have the endometriosis and all of that, right? Is there a way, Dr. Harley, outside of, and I know why I'm asking you like this. I also, I on TikTok too often, let me tell you. So I saw something else on TikTok that really sparked my interest, and I'm like, what is going on here? Because over the years I have come to you and you have always said you don't need to insert anything in your vagina. I saw something on TikTok that says you can use boric acid. Talk to me about that, doctor. If you have BV, talk to me about it.
So, you know, boric acid has become very controversial in the last couple of years.
And very popular.
Very popular. Simply because you do have persons that have used it that are in the medical profession because you had like a 1 or 2 studies that showed that it helped with bacterial vaginosis and yeast. However, what is happening, boric acid has not been widely accepted because of its toxicity.
I would imagine so.
Right, so boric acid is the same thing we use as roach powder.
Listen.
Just saying. Just putting that out here, but don't make these things up. Ask your mother or your granny if them don't use the little white powder to kill roach. Just saying. And you have people who are out there putting them in capsules who are untrained, uneducated, no pharmaceutical guidance, nothing, and are putting them in capsules and people are using that. So they're bottling them and you don't know where they're coming from. And then you don't have wide-based studies. So for example, when I give you canesten or something like that, you have a gazillion studies on that drug to show the safety, how it can be taken, FDA approved, Ministry of Health approved, WHO, all of those things. You don't have that for boric acid. So it's something that we have to be very cautious, and I'm also quite cautious because you cannot ingest it either. And something that you're going to insert in the vagina, if you aren't able to take it orally, you have to consider that because the vagina is also richly supplied with blood vessels. So until you show me studies that show me the safety profile, it becomes very difficult for me to say, oh yes, take it. I will tell you, hold off on that. Get more information first. So it's not something I recommend at this point.
I also had a mature friend who once said to me that she uses soap and stick a pin to wash her vagina. And I remember saying
on
to her,
the inside?
no, it sounded like it was all over.
Okay.
You understand? And I wanted to ask this question in particular because it has become so controversial over the years, right? Because even some partners will suggest that you should use soap. Listen, we know how delicate our V is. I mean, listen, I know. Okay?
Yeah.
And there is nobody on the face of the earth who is going to tell me to use soap. I'm not walking around with a stinky smell. You understand?
Right.
And I'm saying, if your vagina is so sensitive, a lot of these soaps and things have so many different chemicals in them. And half of the times that's usually what throws off your pH
balance.
When I was 18 years old, I went abroad and had a fabulous bathroom and wanted to use all peach. Let me tell you, when I came back, tissue, towel, had everything in peach. Well, I can tell you, one use, and I was off to the doctor, and I learned my lesson from them. 18, okay?
Yes.
So I'm just saying, guys, beware. All right?
And then the harsh. A lot of soaps have what we call surfactants, and they're harsh. So
what does that mean, surfactant?
Surfactants is the thing that when you rub it actually creates the solid of the soap. Right. But you do have natural products that are natural surfactants that are very gentle and you can use to cleanse. So you can use it on a baby's skin, that kind of thing, which is the same thing that we do in our feminine wash. It's completely 100% natural.
Alright, so let me make a note here, guys. You hear her talking about her feminine wash. This is not a sponsored video, but I'm a friend. We can't have her over here around and I talk about her product. I have no problem with that. Alright?
No, the reason why I bring it up too is because people will say, oh, you don't recommend soap, but you have a wash.
Right.
Well, explain that because, for example, I will tell you if you are using something as mild as Cetaphil. Cetaphil is more a natural, gentle cleanser, just like how you can use it on baby skin. Right. It's natural products like that. If you feel like you want to use a cleanser or a very mild, like a feminine wash. But good old water, if you have no issues, that works too.
Alright.
Yeah.
There you go. Alright. Boy, I have so many questions now. Like once you start to talk, the questions start to spin off. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is douching. You and I have had a conversation about that years ago, right?
Don't need it.
Don't need no douching.
What is that? Like no douching.
Like
not necessary. Vagina is self-cleansing. Leave it alone. Take by yourself.
Alright, you hear that, guys? No douching. Alright, it didn't come from me. Alright? Okay. Alright, I have a question, Dr. Harley. Can you get HPV or SHV from the toilet seat?
You cannot. So HPV is what we call the human papilloma virus. It's a virus that causes genital warts and can cause cancerous cells on the cervix. You cannot catch that from the toilet seat, right? The most common cause of it is actually skin-to-skin contact over time. So you can be skin-to-skin with somebody. You don't actually have to have full-out intercourse, and then you're exposed to it. The thing is though, the body is so good in terms of its natural immunity that for most people, even when they're exposed, you know, their body, you know, just immunity kicks in and it clears the virus. But some people don't, right? And it's one of the things that causes, so HPV is the main cause of cervical cancer. So we do encourage our patients to be aware of it and like our young girls to get immunized. Because in countries where you have immunization against HPV, they have their cervical cancer rates have fallen 94-95%. That is a big deal, especially in Jamaica, where cervical cancer is the second most common cancer in Jamaica.
There you go.
So yeah, HPV, no, not the toilet seat. Rub up.
All right. So menopause can be a really touchy subject, right? Let me tell you guys, I'm sitting over here and I really cannot identify with the symptoms of menopause. I'm being very honest with you. And I know God just loves me over here. I've heard the oral stories and I empathize so much with a lot of our women who are going through that. You understand? We don't really have no idea what that is. Understand? So we can't even relate. But I'm also very conscious too that this is a topic that is extremely sensitive. It causes issues in a marriage, it causes all of that. So what I want to find out from you, how does menopause affects a woman's libido? How does that?
A lot of women will tell you it first starts when a lot of women have children. So they have children and it's like the libido go in their shoes. It's like non-existent. Because on top of the
and it doesn't
hormonal
matter how many
effects,
children you have?
it don't matter.
Okay.
Sometimes just after one.
Okay.
So it starts generally there. So most women will find that, and even if they haven't had children, over time, just because your hormonal level changes, your libido can start to decrease over time. So by the time you hit menopause, where your estrogen levels are falling, your testosterone levels, because you do actually need that for your libido, and it's connected to how much estrogen you produce. That level falls, and then you feel nothing. I mean, on top of the mood swings, I mean, you having, so a lot of people, anxiety, depression for no reason, nothing else have changed. And sometimes just the changes that they can notice in their body. So you don't want sex. Sex becomes painful or uncomfortable because the vagina is dry. You don't know feel for it. Your mood, you're anxious, you're stressed. Everybody at work has stressed you out, but the stress becomes more overwhelming. And then, so all of those changes create like a perfect storm. That is literally what menopause is. Or you wake up in the middle of the night and I sweat, so you're not asleep. Right? It's everything. It throws off your sleep for some patients. They get insomnia. Yeah, man. It is a whole next drama. I'm going to catch Eve and lick her with a two before me, I tell you. No, we're not going to hold my back. Because we feel like we can't win.
And we can't join again then, because let me tell you, God's good to me where that is concerned. Okay, guys? I'm just saying.
No, because you have some women that go through the drama with their period, drama with pregnancy, then drama with menopause.
So much things.
Yes.
Right. Well, I get where you are with that, though. But for the persons who are going through menopause, all right, and in particular vaginal dryness, is there anything natural that you can suggest that you would recommend that they use? Because you have some persons who really not into the jellies and the whatever. Is there anything natural that you can recommend that you think it would be safe?
I definitely recommend red clover. So red clover comes in tablet form, it comes in tea form, and the studies have shown that red clover, of all the natural supplements, help the most in terms of boosting your natural estrogen. Right? And then evening primrose you can use as an adjunct to that. Evening primrose is generally easier to get at the pharmacy, but sometimes even just combining the two can actually help significantly. And then evening primrose you can also get it in the oil, which you can use because it's 100% natural. So some people that are having vaginal dryness, they can actually use it just a little. Use it, you know, moisturize the vagina. I mean, I've never had a patient that said, oh, it's irritating me. It works really well without you having to use something that is formulated.
Guys, this is gems. We're dropping gems right here. Okay? And these are things that you can pick up over the counter. You don't need a prescription for this. But Dr. Harley, as usual, I keep it 100. Alright?
Soy has natural plant-based estrogen. So I especially tell my ladies who are going through the active stages, the first 3 years of menopause especially, that they can have a small glass of soy, particularly in the night, because the soy milk has estrogen as well. And a lot of women tell you that they feel better.
I have been buying it. I just follow her advice because but I follow the advice.
And it works. But that combination of the three,
are there any uncommon symptoms of menopause?
Less common. So outside of the mood, you do have some women that actually go into full out psychosis. Meaning that lose them.
Crazy.
So because your brain has responded significantly to the loss of estrogen, some women in terms of the neurotransmitters in the brain go a little haywire. And then if you add stressors on top of it, that can actually cause women to have hallucinations, things like that. So fortunately not as common, but we do see from time to time. Skin changes are actually more common. So a lot of women will come and tell you that my skin is drier, that kind of thing.
Well, that I can attest.
So I usually recommend more body oils. So instead of just lotions, body oils. Or you have to go use the lotion where people use Affarin, where you have like Eucerin and those things, the thick lubricant, that gives you that additional moisture. And just taking supplements like collagen and stuff that can help. But in terms of more uncommon, not really. It's actually more uncommon for patients to go through menopause and don't feel nothing. So you're special. You see that? I didn't know I was special to that. I always do that.
Anyways, guys, unfortunately, guess what? We have come to the end of this interview. Our chat with my doctor. But guess what? She and I were talking earlier, and she was talking to me about my subscriber count and thing. And I said, you know, we're close to 50. So she said, I'm going to give you some giveaways. So guys, she's going to be giving me some woman's touch, which is her brand.
Sure.
The multi-pack,
Yes.
so it has different sizes in there.
And the wash.
And the wash,
Yes.
alright? So we're going to figure out a way, you know, to help me get to, well, we need about 30 more subscribers to get to 50, and we're going to have a little mini party, which is also going to include woman's touch, right? So, want to know what to do, you know, tell your friend, tell all your granny, alright?
Like, click, subscribe. Me learn.
Dr. Harley, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know that you're on baby watch, but you decided to do this, and I really, really appreciate it.
No problem.
You are my G for a special reason, because let me tell you, you show up and you show out. Guys, I'm sure you have found this extremely informative. And like I said, on this side of YouTube, I try to provide information. Of course, we're going to do the decor, we're going to do the fashion, but let me tell you something, wholesome, total woman on this side. Right? So, Doc, thanks again.
No
I'm so
problem.
glad to see you. Like
Me
that.
glad to see you.
Yes.
She look good in I tell her she don't look good in our crocus bag. All in our crocus bag she don't look good. That's true.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man, she don't have a bad day.
I take it all in. Thank you so much, Dr. Harley.
No problem.
I look forward to seeing you again. We're going to have part 2. Don't tell me in the comment section, guys, if you really think we should have a part 2.
And what they want to know?
And yes, ask me the questions in the comments, right? I'm more sure if I have a part 2, and we're going to do it. You know, me forget one word, Dr. Harley.
Tell me.
Sit must around with me. I had a subscriber who she and I were talking, and she said to me about pelvic floor prolapse.
Ah, okay.
It's a quick one. Let us see if I can squeeze that in, because you know you come for me. I promise I'm going to ask her. See, me ask her. Come.
Right. So what happens, especially in women who have had children, but just going through menopause, the pelvis is just a sheet of muscle that holds up like the uterus and the bladder and the intestine, right? When you get older, that muscle gets weaker. When you've had children, that muscle gets even weaker, especially if you've had big children or vaginal deliveries.
Okay.
So what happens
So big
is
children meaning 10
over
pounds
like
and those?
8
Okay,
plus pounds.
over 8.
Yeah, 8 plus
Okay,
pounds.
okay.
But you have some people who never had a big baby, just
Right.
have one baby, and they go into menopause, and it happens, right? So what happens? The uterus comes down, the bladder is coming down, right? And then for some women it causes like frequent urination, a lot of different symptoms.
Right.
So initially we have to examine to see how bad it is to determine how we manage it. Because for a lot of people it's mild, fortunately. I will recommend what we call Kegel exercises.
Oh,
It's
yes.
that action.
Hold on, we're
that
going
you
to talk
try.
about
Hold
that
on.
next time. We're going to talk about it. No, that is a whole different topic. Okay, guys? We're going to be talking about that. Alright?
Yes.
Dr. Harley, so we have booked the appointment from now. We're going to be chatting some more. Alright, guys, thank you so much, Doc.
No
I
problem.
so enjoyed this. It was just enriching to my soul. Thank you.
No
Love
problem.
you today. See you guys. Bye-bye.